It's one of the most beautiful intuitive questions that you can ask about any given situation is, what do I know without having to ask? What do I just understand without having to ask in this moment? And what that would mean is, instead of having to ask how this person is or ask details about their life, why not tune in? What do you know, or what do you understand? I don't know why, but I really feel like this person has a sore back. Work it into conversation, bring it up, and you will find that you are right. And it's such a great way to learn your own intuitive language by playing with it out in the world. And the invitation from our angels and spirit guides right now is every single thing that we do to come back into your own power and learn that you are your own little generator, that you generate your own power and your own happiness and your own peace within.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Mindful Mastery. I'm Vanessa Ooms, your host, and today we have a very special guest named Michelle Morrison, who's a dear friend and mentor to me. She's a psychic medium, angel intuitive, a Reiki master teacher, and just an all-around great human being. So I'm excited to have Michelle share a bit of her story with us today. And we're also going to be talking about ungunking, which seems to be the theme right now. So without further ado, let's get into it.
Hey,
Hi, Michelle.
how are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm really good. There we go. We can see better now. Yeah, life is great. Yeah, I am like you. Where do you start? Like, so much. But at the base of it, like, I really have felt like this is the year to get it together a little bit and really deeply walk that talk and walk those inner knowings. And one of the steps for me was stepping back actually from my podcast for an extended period of time. And I'm always the one who will push through and work hard, and I don't want to right now. Plain and simple.
I'm in a similar place because same, I'm always the one who would push through and
Yep.
doing all the things and just, I don't know, but something just clicked in me. I was like, I don't know if I want to do all the things.
That's right.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. So I've been writing a lot and doing other things that I don't often always have time for. And what a blessing. I was just writing this morning about the week that we are witnessing, and the message that keeps coming through from Spirit that I hope that we'll get to today at some point in some way, shape, or form. I'm sure we will, is that I think that one of the things that we're being encouraged to let go of right now is the externalization of our happiness, right? That it's not because of something. It's not because something went in your favor or did not that you are now happy or unhappy. That's such big messages from the angels right now is, okay, you may not agree with any kind of a political decision. They're not even using the US election necessarily as an example. It's one of many, they say. Maybe you are thrilled by the results of something. Maybe you are unhappy by the results of something, but that your invitation right now is to not let, because it's like they're like, you keep giving away your power, you keep giving away your power. And so that was why when I push through and I am like, yep, I'm just going to keep on going and I'm going to do the things that need to be done and go through my checklist of my responsibilities, I'm giving away my power in every sense and form of doing that. And so for me, I am on a process of reclamation of all of that power and no longer outsourcing it.
I just got chills.
Yeah.
And that resonates for me too. I'm in the same boat. It was almost like just a light switch flipped in my brain one day.
That's exactly what happened to me.
Really?
Sincerely, I was walking out of my office one day after a day of clients online, and I walked out of my office and I went, what am I doing? What am I doing? I'm going to do the same thing again. I am going to get sick again. I'm going to be burnt out again. I'm going to be completely depleted again. I can't do that to myself. It wasn't the point.
And then you start to really look at your motivations for doing certain things.
Completely what I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
Why was I doing that? And you don't like all the answers, I'll tell you that.
No.
You don't like all the answers. And this is the thing about being in a spiritual community and career, is that I'll channel messages for my clients, hear them, understand them, and then not necessarily follow through with what spirit is saying all the time. So a part of me feels shame because I should know better. I should have had this figured out by now. And so you go through that. That's all ego again. That's externalizing my power. It's not the right route, but it is a part of that process of awakening, if that makes sense.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, like I'll hear a message that somebody shares every single day, every single time I work with clients. The messages are insanely beautiful and like just so high vibrational. And then you stub your toe and you're like, oh my God. Like, it's a metaphor, but you get what I'm saying. Like you have one of those little like moments of whatever is going on in your life and you forget. And so I am on a process of reclaiming that and a lot of gentleness and compassion. And just like the other day I was doing like a power clean through the house and I came across a box that I hadn't dealt with. And I'm like, I have been walking past this in my laundry room now for weeks and I haven't dealt with it. Michelle, what the hell? Get yourself together here. You know where this stuff goes. You know what you need to do. It's causing me stress. It's a mess. Get it cleaned up. Get it put away. And then I'm like, no, sorry, hang on. Control-Alt-Delete. What I really meant was, I've been doing the very best that I can every single solitary day. It's just a box. It's just some things. I've got a minute right now. I'm going to just whip through them. It's okay. And so it's just, I know that sounds ridiculous because it's so small and it's so inconsequential in the big scope of things. But those little things are what is helping me to reclaim those parts of myself.
And that's the thing though, it seems to the logical mind, it seems like a small thing, but really it's a massive shift because you're recognizing that pattern of talking to yourself. I have that same voice. Like, what the hell, Vanessa? Like, get your shit together.
Yeah, totally.
That should have been done 2 weeks ago or a month ago or whatever.
Exactly.
But we're also human. And just giving ourselves that kind of grace.
Yeah.
Like that can shift your entire mindset.
It can shift everything.
It can shift everything. Your subconscious mind, the way that you do everything.
Yeah.
You can start being kinder to yourself.
Yeah. That's the plan. It's step by step. I'm not telling you that I am perfect or that I fully understand everything that I'm doing. I am just being present with it and noticing it more. And then when I notice it, I'm like, I can change that. I can shift that. And I think that when you have those aha moments, there is a recognition from within you that you see, it's like, oh, I see how I could support myself better in this moment. I see how I could be a bit gentler here. I see how I could give myself compassion where I might give it to somebody else way faster. Yeah.
That's big work.
It is big work. And I honestly feel tired, right? Like I feel like I'm processing a lot. And so I don't feel like I have energy for all of the things that maybe I have had or to my detriment have had energy for in the past. And I think my work right now is that. Yeah. And I can see more and more people moving to this place also, or a desire to want to shift quite badly, because when you have exhausted all of the other ways and pathways, and you're like, that didn't make me happy, that didn't make me feel any better, that didn't, it was maybe good for a minute and then it waned. It's more that in earnest, a journey of wanting to find a more stable peace or happiness, rather than the up and down roller coaster ride that it could be.
Totally.
Yeah.
And just living a more aligned life. It's wild when you start to dig into your why for things and your motivations and why you're doing certain things. Yeah, I was shocked and just also saddened a little bit by it, because I thought that I needed to do all of these things to be successful. I actually went through a bit of an existential crisis around this a couple weeks ago. I was like, what is the point of anything that I'm doing? I went down, yeah, I went down that track and I was like, what is the point? And I did. I stopped doing a lot of the things that I was doing, because it was like I was doing it because I thought I needed to, or I kept doing it because I thought I needed to just keep doing it, even though it didn't resonate anymore, it didn't align anymore. And then when you release those things, and you get so much more clarity.
Yeah.
But it is a tiring process.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it takes a lot out of you, but maybe it is in part because we are meant to slow down a little bit. I don't believe, that's a big word. I don't feel that we are meant to be moving so quickly right now. I don't think we need to be. I think the invitation is to slow the roll and to just a little bit be with yourself and just slow down entirely. Yeah. I don't know if you've seen this comedian online. I can send it to you on Instagram. It was really funny, and he's our generation, so I'm much older than you. You're much younger than me, but I certainly didn't. I grew up in an age where it was like the phone, and you, like the dial phone, you have to wait for it to spin back around before you can be like, and he's like, when you grew up in that age, you grew up with mindfulness. You were watching the condensation run down the window of the bus. Mindfulness. You just lay on your back and watch the clouds because you weren't allowed back in your house till dinner. Mindfulness. It was hilarious. And I'm like, yeah. And I know he didn't mean it to be like a spiritual awakening so much, but it was like, it just hit me like, this is inherent in our being. And if you go back in your memory, those are some of the happiest times of life, right? When you don't have to be or do anything. And so I think it is a coming back to that. And so I am feeling very much that we do not need to be running, that we do not need to be currently on a career marathon, that it is meant to be more of a personal growth phase. And I think we're going to see a lot of it on the planet right now.
Totally. And it's funny, I think I'm probably the last generation that will remember days before internet. I think we got internet when I was 12.
Wow.
Yeah. So I like a lot of my memories too are like sitting in the forest at the base of a tree, or playing with your friends outside until the street lights come on, and then you go home.
That's right.
And it's interesting, was it the Generation Zs or Alphas are actually starting to do away with smartphones? They're going back to like analog flip phones.
Yeah, I've heard this. I've heard it. I love it. I love it, because you're right. I don't think it's helping us, that's for sure. Yeah.
No. It's so much so fast. Just the internet, there's so much information coming at us so quickly, and it's just, we're not meant to process things that quickly.
No, we're not. We're not. And we're not meant to be exposed to that much information all at one time. We're not. We know if something were to happen on the other side of the world right now, our devices would light up and tell you that a volcano erupted, or whatever. Like we would know immediately. And we don't need to know that all the time. And that's just an example. We don't need to know everything all the time. We don't need to be abreast of every single thing that is happening in the world. It's okay to detox. So Lex always comes to visit me when I'm on.
Oh,
Yeah, she's going to turn herself around and she'll sit on the arm of the chair. This is one of my kitties.
hi, sweetie.
That's Lexi.
Hi, Lexi.
Oh, pretty girl.
She's beautiful.
She's my little sidekick.
Aw.
At any rate, I think we're overwhelmed by information, by our ability to connect so quickly. If someone doesn't answer a text message immediately, if someone doesn't pick up the phone, if someone doesn't answer an email right away, like we don't need to be on it. We don't need to be Johnny on the spot with all of it. And yeah, I've recently found my do not disturb. I don't know where I've been. I'm like, now I can't not use it. Now I'm like, not available to you all.
Well, talk about giving your power away. If you're at the beck and call of every being, like you will just lose days at a time. And like I've actually, I shouldn't say use the word trained, but I've worked with my clients now in such a way, set the boundaries and the expectations. If you email me, I'll get back in 24 to 48 hours. If you text me, it'll probably be a few hours. If you call me, I might not always answer. But call me if it's an emergency, and I'll call you when I can. Text me if it's urgent. Email me if it can wait. But either way, when I'm working on one thing, that's where my focus is. My ringer is off. I just, because otherwise I was having panic attacks.
Totally.
Because it's just, I was just feeling all the demands on my energy all the time. And it's like, this is bananas. And then I'm just on my phone all day and not doing anything that I want to do, anything that enriches my soul, any work that I need to do.
Yeah. It like takes you off of everything, and then you wonder why feel like you have ADD, or why you feel so unfocused, because you're all over the place, answering this and then answering that, and then that rings. Ugh. Yeah. So it's too much, and I'm really feeling the withdrawal. I got one of my favorite things that I have in my yard in the summer is a hammock, and I have 2 young dogs, and they're incredibly energetic, Vanessa. Holy moly. Anyway, I lay in my hammock and they drop the ball in my lap, and I don't even have to move, and I throw and they come back, drop the ball, and we can just lay there. We can do that for 10 or 15 minutes, then I'll lay down. But nothing else. So my neighbor is, that's hilarious. And I'm like, it's relaxing. And so mindfulness, just chuck. Yeah, I miss it when winter comes, that's for sure. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So what do y'all want to talk about today?
I think we touched on the ungunking, but if anything else comes up on that. But I would also love to hear about, I was reading on your website that you had a spiritual awakening in adulthood that kind of got you on the track of your mediumship practice. And if you're okay with sharing a bit of that story, I would love to hear that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we can talk about that. In all honesty, I don't remember a time in my life where I didn't understand that there were beings outside of us, that there was more than we could just see with our physical eyes, that there was just so much more that you could feel. And one of the intuitive gifts that I have, because we all have intuitive gifts and there's no one better than another. People often really love clairvoyance simply because it's has the appearance of flashiness. It isn't. It's just another form. It's just the way. And so I was always able to see as a child and see energy around people. So we would call that like an aura, or see an energetic field around. It could be a school or a business or a store, or the trees, or the river, the water. You can literally tap into and feel, or even just know that energetic field, and you'll do that in your own beautiful, magnificent way. For me, it was sight and seeing that, and so I really remember that from a very young age. And I remember seeing angels in my bedroom, in our playroom, outside with us. And my parents would tell me that I just had a very vivid imagination, right? I don't think they knew what to do with that. And you're just a imaginative little thing, aren't you? And so I think I probably grew out of that maybe a small amount, although I always had an understanding. Even through high school, I was one of those awkward kids where I didn't really know where I fit in. I didn't really feel very comfortable in the school setting. I always felt a little bit like an outsider, and I tried really hard to belong. And I think it was a hard time in many ways. And I can remember days of just feeling really blue and really down because I just felt so out of place. And the world for empathic people can be very daunting at times. And I think for me, there was just such a longing for harmony and belonging and community that we know somewhere within our being from our source energy, from the truth of who we really are. I think that lives within us, and I think that's why we feel it when we come here sometimes. I met my husband in high school, and we were married quite young, and we've been married now for 33 and a half years. We have 2 grown sons, and just after I gave birth to my second son, I went through very severe postpartum depression. And I was really struggling with those big questions, Vanessa, that we were speaking about when we first climbed on, is what am I doing here? What is this all about? I thought that I was a complete and total failure in life, that my other friends with babies weren't this sad or having a hard time, and they were saying things like this was the best thing that ever happened to them. And I was like, I am exhausted. I am feeling differently than that. And it wasn't that I didn't love my children. I love them more than anything that I have. It's a love that I had not ever experienced. It wasn't that. It was something else. And it was deep. And I can say that there were times for me that I found it challenging to be here. And I thought in ways that my children would be better off with a mom who was more capable or could do the job better, or wasn't sad, I didn't feel like crying. And so I ended up going to an intuitive, and it was my mom actually who found her. And she had gone to see her and really had a very enjoyable experience. I'd never experienced anything like this in my life before. So I went because I'm at the bottom of my barrel. I don't know what else to do. And it was after this session with her, she spoke to me like nobody had ever spoken to me before in my life. And she talked to me about things that were on a soul level. And I feel like it triggered memories within me of being in that soul self, in that soul state. And maybe that's confusing for some people. I'll just really quickly just explain what I mean by that. You and I are here in a physical reality. And when we focus on this is you in your body, this is me in my body, I'm sitting on a chair, I can touch my desk, I can feel the pen in my hand, that's all physical experiences. My tea is chai, I can taste the chai spices. And a non-physical experience is everything that you can't see, but you feel. And we come from non-physical, essentially. We don't actually die. We are eternal beings. I believe that experience for me sparked that memory of my eternal beingness. And I felt broken open. I really felt it wasn't actually very comfortable. And I actually had to go back to her a few weeks later, and she did an energetic treatment on me just to help, because I had no like concept of this. I hadn't ever spoken about any of this to any other person that understood that when I said that I saw those things, or I could see an aura, or I could see energy, no one confirmed that for me. No one said, oh yeah, that's really normal. Yeah, I see that too. Everyone was like, what? You're weird. So to have someone like see you in that way was really powerful and really beautiful. But it did feel like someone took like a chisel and jammed it into my head and split it open a little bit. And so that was really the beginning of my journey. And for me, I'd be curious what it was like for you as well. But for me, it was sponge. And I just wanted to sponge it up. I just wanted to absorb. I'm like, oh my God, there's meditation. Oh my God, there's Reiki. There's this, there's that. There's speakers. Holy moly. There's a lady named Louise Hay and Marianne Williamson, and like all of these amazing people I got introduced to, just because when you begin looking and you pull your head up a little bit and you look around, there is actually people doing this. And so I went to every single thing that I could get my hands on and just really absorbed. And that was beautiful. I think I've had several different awakenings through my life, though. I don't think you can just do it to one. That was the initial one that really started me down this path and journey. But I think that they will probably continue to happen, honestly, from what I've learned so far. Do we keep leveling up? I think we do if we choose to.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah. So that was the beginning.
So where did your sponging take you?
A lot of different places. Things changed for me when I understood how energy worked. And Reiki was my introduction to that. I know that you're a Reiki master teacher as well. And it's not that I practice Reiki with clients anymore every day. I do on occasion, but it's just, that is inherent in my being. And I think many Reiki practitioners would understand that or feel that way. Like when you understand how energy works and moves and how to harness it and how to be empowered by it and empowered with it, when you understand the connection to everything that you can't see but that you can feel, that you really come into yourself a little bit more, and that you really begin to understand also the energy that surrounds you. So people who understand this are very quickly very clear on, this space feels really good. This space doesn't feel really safe. And I think we all know that on a level, but I think that it really deepens as you open those channels within you, however it is that those get open for you. And so that was a really big awakening for me. And from there, I went to shamanic healing, studied with an amazing Peruvian shaman for over 8 years, and really built my earth connection and my earth understanding. And really, that's when I really began feeling home. And my understanding of why I came here really with that earth connection and the beauty and the power in that earth connection, it was really transformative. And in all of this time, intuition was opening. And it wasn't that I was necessarily seeking it out. It just was opening more and more as I was opening more and more to different kinds of energies and experiences and understandings. And I began to acknowledge, because it wasn't like a learning, it was a remembering, if that makes sense. And so I began to acknowledge that I know way more than I'm saying. I know I don't need to ask to have a knowing. I know things without having to ask. And so I would just know things. And so I began acknowledging that I just had this understanding within me, or this knowing within me. And it wasn't just even about what was going to happen in the world or things coming up in life. It was about other people as well. In that, for me, was dead people, which is a comic term because there is no such thing, but departed souls who had transitioned back to their home, to their non-physical. And when I went through that period of time of that awakening that I first spoke of, my grandmother passed away, and I loved my grandmother, loved her being. And it was a really sad time for me at that time because I was dealing with a lot, and I had two very young boys, and life was really busy. And I began hearing from her. I had an aunt pass away shortly thereafter also, and I began hearing from her. And so I began these conversations with some of my own family members, and just wasn't even sure if I was imagining them or if this was real, but I decided within myself, I don't care if I'm imagining it because it comforts me and brings me so much like peace, knowing she has happy messages and that she's telling me these happy things. And my grandmother was nonverbal at the time of her passing. She was in a coma. And so we couldn't say things to her and have her know that we said them, or things like that couldn't happen. And so it was such a beautiful healing in having that opportunity to speak to her. And from there, I began having an awareness of other people's loved ones that were around them, and began letting them know that this person is with them, or this thing has happened, whatever the case may be. And that's how it all got going.
Amazing. And you said that you're clairvoyant, so you're seeing them, hearing them.
It's a very multisensory experience, and I don't think putting one word on it does it justice. I think for most of us, it's a very multisensory experience, and I'm sure for you it is as well. That sometimes it depends also on the situation. Sometimes I just am feeling more than I'm seeing. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I just am understanding or knowing more than I feel. Sometimes I hear. Lots of times I see. But it's not like necessarily like bodies floating through the air. Energy for me is different. Like, you can literally see energy. I think that's not hard for a lot of people. I think actually you'd be surprised at how good you could be at this. Mm-hmm. It's one of the things I love to do in my workshops, is start to teach people to see auras, because they do. They freaking do every single time. And when you allow yourself that space and that time to do that, it's really mind-blowing. It is. At any rate, I think, it doesn't have to look any one way or be the same every single time. I've accepted that. People will often show me images in my mind's eye. And in my mind's eye, it will look like I'll have an image of, say, a man wearing a hat or something like that. It'll come across that way, but it's not like even everything is perfectly clear either. With that image of a man wearing a hat, there is so much more within that that comes through within that multisensory experience, right? It can be such a multitude of things. And I don't think that what I do is necessarily special. I think that I choose to use it. That's how I understand it anyway. I really think that it is within each and every one of us. And although each and every one of us may experience it differently, I do believe that we all have it within us to connect to more than just what is in our physicality, that we can connect into that non-physical realm and communicate and feel and sense and know and understand.
Yeah, I think so too. It's interesting how it used to be more accepted in society, and then we went away from it, and now it seems to be like it's coming back.
I sure hope so. Yes.
Yeah, slowly but surely.
Yes.
But I think the more we have these conversations, the more people can feel okay with how they experience the non-physical, because I agree with you. I think that we all do, and it's not just your imagination.
No, it's not. And I think that's, I'm also not afraid to get things wrong. So I love doing that. Make a prediction. Where does it come from within you? What do you know or feel? And when you do that, whether you're right or wrong, it's a learning experience, because then you can go back and connect the dots. So a perfect example is picking a lineup at a store or at a fuel pump. And where are you drawn to? You might go to where you think there is less people or something along those lines, and then you get frustrated because an interaction ahead of you took longer than it should have, or that you wished it would have, and you feel like you're in line longer than if you had chosen what you felt. And so that's a beautiful opportunity for you. And don't see it as, oh, I wasn't on it. I didn't get it. I wasn't using my intuition. No, you very likely were, but you might have been ignoring what you really felt. And so as you tune into doing what you really feel coming through, that's the game changer. And don't be upset if you get something wrong, because it's just a part of your learning. It's just a part of the process. And chances are you were not listening. And I even did this recently. We were in line at the theater, and I'm like, that line's going to go faster, but I don't care for the energy of the people in the group right there. So we're going to choose this line up instead. And of course, the other line went faster. Yeah.
But you got to be in a more comfortable energy.
Yes, but
bubble.
I was more comfortable the whole time. So there you go. Yeah. So it's fun. And if you can have a sense of humor about it, it's stuff that you can laugh about all day long. And know all day long. But I love it's one of the most beautiful intuitive questions that you can ask about any given situation is, what do I know without having to ask? What do I just understand without having to ask in this moment? And what that would mean is, instead of having to ask how this person is or ask details about their life, why not tune in? What do you know, or what do you understand? I don't know why, but I really feel like this person has a sore back. Work it into conversation, bring it up, and you will find that you are right. And it's such a great way to learn your own intuitive language by playing with it out in the world. And then you're like, okay, so we can't put out a dictionary of intuitive language. It's impossible to do that. And the reason for it is because yours is different than mine, and mine is different than yours. And what something means to you will mean something different to somebody else. And so in a workshop, I will say, what does the image of apple mean to you? So Vanessa, what does apple mean to you? If you saw an apple.
If I see an apple, interesting, but my first thought was abundance for some reason.
I love it. So that's perfect. So when I see apple, I associate that with teacher energy. And so intuitively, when I see an apple in my reading, I'll know that the person that I am communicating with has teacher energy in them.
Okay.
Yeah. And so some people might say it means for them well-being. And I'll say, excellent. Tell me more about that. They're working on their well-being. Excellent. That's what it means to you. And so that's why you can't have an intuitive dictionary, because every single thing brings a different meaning to us. So for someone, I'll use a really silly example here. I do not care for raisins. Gross, uber gross. My husband loves raisins.
Me too.
You're right. I'm not holding it against you, even though I think it's completely okay. So a very simple thing like that could have a very different meaning for me than it could for you. And so where somebody sees something that is like, it could be the image of an anchor, that could have a very positive connotation for them and something very different for somebody else. Now, what Spirit will say is, it doesn't matter. Bring your meaning and just be true to what your meaning is with the things that you see around in the world. And that's going to create your intuitive language for you.
Interesting.
Yeah. So if you see something and you associate a meaning with it, or it makes you feel this way, or makes you think that, Spirit says, fantastic. All we want is your awareness of it, because then we're going to show you things. So Spirit says, thank you, Vanessa, for showing us that apple for you means abundance. Now you're going to see the sign of apple freaking everywhere, Vanessa. And you're going to go, every time you see an apple, you're going to be like, abundance. And you're going to be like, of course there's going to be apples when I go to the grocery store. Yeah, That's where they are. However, now every time you go to the grocery store and you see the apples, you're going to be like, abundance. And you're just going to be, fun is that?
I love it.
Yeah. So allow your own meaning to come forward and just question yourself with what things mean to you. And it's not about being right or wrong, or it should mean this, or it should mean that. It's what it means to you. And no one can teach you that. That comes from within.
Yeah. What a fun way to get in touch with yourself again. Really cool, because
Yeah.
something as simple as an apple, you don't really think about it until you're asked. And then, okay, even with colors, like what does the color purple mean to you? What about a pen? What about
That's
a
right.
tree?
That's
What about
right.
these different things?
And then as you're moving through your day, and so you meet a stranger on the street, and you are introduced to somebody new, and you're like, and I don't know why, but I'm seeing an apple in my mind's eye, or I feel like I want to say apple. Okay, good. What does apple mean to you? To Vanessa, it means abundance. Okay, what about this? So like with intuition, the best part about it is being a 5-year-old. And what do 5-year-olds do? They ask why. They ask why 500 times a day. Why? 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 Go put your socks on. Why? Whatever. They ask why. And so I think that it was honestly designed this way so that we would be childlike and playfulness in our energy with it, that it would be a joyful experience of discovery, to play with your intuition, to play with the energy, and just to be a bit innocent about it.
And actually, that makes a lot of sense, because every time you interact with a person, it's going to be different. Like every Reiki session is
Yes,
completely different. Every mediumship session is different. And
absolutely.
coming with the childlike wonder, it's coming without any expectations. Like you're learning again, you're exploring, you're seeing what's going to happen without, yeah, trying to guide the process too much.
That's right. And where we go wrong is asking, oh my God, is this right? Am I okay? Did I do it right? Was that okay? Like I saw this, but I don't think that was good. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like gentle here. Like you're doing fantastic. Trust. And this is your language. It doesn't have to be approved by me or anybody else. This is your language. Assign the meaning to what it is that you are seeing or feeling, and then it's going to come back again. Another example I'll use that's just a little bit different that I really love. In our lifetimes, we meet so many different people. And I'm going to share this and bring this back around to me meeting you too. But we get to meet so many different people in our lives, and some of them are not our cup of tea, and others we feel an immediate maybe kinship or a recognition or a safety or just a kindness or whatever it is. So there's all different ways. I'm not saying one is good or bad. I think they're all incredibly useful or helpful. And sometimes you have longer interactions with people, and then they maybe show a part of themselves that you're just like, oh, I'm going to close that door and back away slowly. Something's changed here, and I'm not okay with these things that are going on or whatever. And I'm glossing over some heavy things. This has come from some heartbreaks at times, right? Or some difficult learning situations. But it's okay to make light of them. And at any rate, you can then come across somebody else in your world, and for whatever reason, they have a reminder of that experience that you had with somebody else. And they may have all the appearance of something great, or maybe a popularity, and other people are saying, oh, this is so good, you got to follow this or this. And you're sitting and watching and going, oh my gosh, that's not for me. Or I don't know that I can trust the words coming out of this person's mouth, or I don't know that I feel that there is like integrity, or whatever the case may be. Trust the gut. Trust the gut, because all of these experiences that we get to have with different people, whether they're your cup of tea or not, is all a part of that learning. And it's going to show you, it's there to teach you, like when a person says this and you feel that, so it doesn't match. That's a beautiful learning, is it not? And so we want those opportunities to have an experience and let it teach us as we move forward. And I've had that happen to me in my life where I'm like, oh, this person like has all the appearance of like kindness and all of that, but yet I feel this way on the inside.
Yeah.
It's reminding me of a situation where I was caused to hurt and I have no other information to go on other than my gut instincts. And so I trusted them, and then was validated later on when somebody else had that same experience. They had their learning experience with them, right?
Interesting.
Super interesting. So it's all really cool. Anyhow, when I met you, had that immediate resonation or kinship of such a beautiful soul and just such a deep knowing. And I think that I said to you, I won't remember the words at all, but I know that I saw within you your highest potential, and just how magnificent it is and is growing into. And it's just really cool to play with that energy and see where it leads you in life, because I think that it can bring you such beautiful connections and into such beautiful experiences and meeting such incredible people when you are looking for it.
I don't even know how to follow that.
I think one of the things that we could maybe touch on a bit, Vanessa, is, if it's okay, is the messages from our angels and spirit guides right now. And so we've talked a little bit about our loved ones and our intuition. All of it is related. It's all a part of who we are, and you don't have to believe it. You don't have to speak to your angels if it's not your show. It's okay to do it your way. I'm not here to convince anybody of anything, and I'm certainly the last person to tell you how you should live your life. I just love sharing the messages, and you can take what you will. But I think that we're living in such amazing times right now. And if you are alive on the planet, you've got an awareness of this, because you felt the kind of the tumble dry thing that we're experiencing. Like being put in the dryer and the button pressed on and around we go. But no matter what is happening in the world right now, and there's a lot of information out there that you can tune into about what's happening energetically on the planet. And some people are very worried and very fearful and saying we're headed towards a doomsday or things like that. And things are going to change. There's no two ways about that. But change isn't always bad. And I think that we make it out to be worse in our minds, within our egoic state, than it is in actuality, because right now the messages from the angels are to tune inward, to reclaim your own inner peace and empowerment. And I think one of the reasons, I actually think, like, I was reading recently somebody saying our timeline has been hijacked. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's a perspective. And I'm not here to argue it. It's just not maybe the same perspective that I share. I might feel a little bit differently, which is also okay. I don't feel like our timeline has been hijacked. And the reason I don't is because we are here. What is happening? It is absolutely always where you are is what is going on. It is happening. I think that it is actually quite beautiful if you look at it from a very high perspective, because the invitation is for each and every one of us to not give so much power over. Because we've just witnessed the election in the US, we're recording this the week of the election actually that just happened. When we give so much external power over to something like that, and here in Canada we'll experience it as well in the coming year. My life is only going to be good if this person gets in. My life is going to be terrible if this person gets in. That kind of thinking is externalizing your power and actually sucking it away from you. And the invitation from our angels and spirit guides right now is every single thing that we do to come back into your own power and learn that you are your own little generator, that you generate your own power and your own happiness and your own peace within. And I think that whatever we plug and play in our lives is going to dictate that to a degree. So be very careful with what you're plugging and playing with. And really plug and play with really high vibrational things, maybe choosing more of those things. And so actually the messages from angels and spirit guides right now are very much play, be joyful, like dance, play your music loud, dance around your kitchen, play Lego, whatever. Be a little bit more playful in your energy and don't take it all so seriously. Because it's just a play, it's just a drama, it's just watching like a Broadway show. Like it's not as real as we think it is. And what is real is the power that lives within you and the peace and love that you can generate within your own self and the ways that you connect and use those in your relationships outside of yourself too. So making community, in other words, that's where it's at. And that's really what it's about. And whatever is going to happen over the next few years is going to invite us to step into that more and more. And that's a really exciting place to be. It's a really beautiful opportunity for each and every one of us. Yeah. And so you and I have been chit-chatting about our inward journeys, and my very technical term right now that I'm using called ungunking, and letting go of the things that I think that I have to, or the shoulding, right? The shoulding all over yourself, and letting go more and more of those things and coming into a place of, I'm doing this because it feels good. And I'm not going to live my life being held hostage by potential fears or potential things that could happen. I'm going to be here now. And the power in that is that when you do that, it ripples, and it ripples out to somebody else. It touches somebody else in some way, somehow, some shape, and it allows them to see and honor their own inner power. And what we have forgotten as an entirety of beings on this planet is that we are sovereign, that we are actually free, and that no one can hold power over us. And that if we got that together, okay, there's a very small percentage of these ridiculous billionaires on the planet. It's nothing in compared to the masses of beings that actually have the power. And so we have to remember that instead of giving it over to something else outside of ourselves. That's the process right now of reclamation, that reclaiming that. And so the planet right now is really ripe with regeneration. And so if you think about, a forest fire, when I was driving to the coast at the beginning of October, I drove through that section on the Coquihalla Highway that had completely burned. Oh my gosh, like a rip-roaring fire went through and took that down to nothing. And this is now 3 years ago. And seeing the beauty of the fall colors in there and the way, it is coming back and it is regenerating. We're in that regeneration process. We just don't know it. There's so much beauty unfolding. And it just depends what you're looking for. And so if you're going to look for the fear, you'll find it. There's lots of it, to be sure. But if you look for the growth and the regeneration and the beauty and the connection, you're going to find that. And when we put our focus there, we're going to see more and more of it. And one of my favorite games that I like to play when I'm out in the world is What Makes Me Smile. And so I look for things that make me smile. Oh my God, I love that car. That is beautiful. What is that? Wow, gorgeous. Look at the color. Oh, look at the way the light is hitting that mountain. Look at, oh, I've got to put my sunshade down. The sun's just, I'm shining so bright here. Whatever, like, what makes you smile? And then you end up like smiling to the people that you come across wherever you are in the world, and they smile back. And so you see more of it. And so just that little thing is such a beautiful little ripple. And so I love those messages from our angels right now, because they are certainly not all, oh yeah, you guys are too bad for you. They're not. They're like, this is beautiful. This is amazing. Isn't it fantastic? Yeah. It doesn't feel that way in our humanness. I know. It doesn't. I know. There's some days where you're like, I'm sure there's people listening to this going, are you kidding me right now? We get it. We get it. Yeah. We do. But that is the absolute truth. And you can certainly have moments where you're just like, oh my God, for sure. But come back to looking for things that make you smile, because boy, it's just going to take you so much further. Yeah.
Because there will always be things in this world that seem scary, that are horrific, whatever. But this is actually, everything that you're saying is confirming messages that I was getting this morning too.
Were you really?
100%, sincerely. And one of the big ones was to train your focus on the uplifting and positive parts of your life, which is what you were just talking about. Is to train your focus. Find the silver linings, find the little pockets of joy, find the things that tickle your heart and focus on those and give those your energy.
Yeah. It's not always, we forget, and I do too. I'll absolutely be driving. I'll be like, if only you had some sort of an indicator that would let me know which way you're turning. And then I'll go, wait a second, stop. It's okay. It's all right. It's all right. You've forgotten to use your signal light on occasion also. It's okay. So we forget. It's okay. But as every time you can think of it, come back to it. And I think that's what our life is, honestly, Vanessa, is a constant recentering. Right? Like constantly coming back to that place of center, because news can trigger you or make you feel certain feelings or make you feel fear or worry, or you hear something about a friend who's having a hard time or something, or you can have a loved one that passes. Absolutely. There will be experiences in life that will shake you. But that's why I think it's always going to be a process of that, coming back to your own place of center and doing the things for you that help you to do that.
I love this, Michelle. Every time I listen to you, it's like you're speaking through more than just words. It's energy too. And I'm absorbing it on many levels.
That's a really beautiful way to receive messages as well, is on that energetic level, because again, in non-physical, there are no words. And if you've had an experience of meditation or some sort of out of body, or like just some sort of experience where you just can't put words to it, or you feel your heart is so open by love, like there aren't words for what you feel, that's when you're really tuning into the highest parts of your being, when you feel on those levels, because there aren't words. Words are things that we assign and we label and give names to, and we need to have language. I'm not saying don't speak, but those moments on your own where you can have not needing to put words to nature, but just allowing yourself to feel, like that's enormous. It's really spectacular.
Yeah. And it brings it back to what you were talking about earlier with learning to follow your intuition and feeling your way through life in new ways, just expanding your listening tools, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it's your perception tools, right? Like, it's because I think I love that saying, and the book is the same title, All the Light That We Cannot See. What a beautiful phrase.
Yeah.
Because it is all the things that maybe we think. So we learn in school through a textbook or a teacher who tells us this is how you should feel about this. This is what you should think about this. This is the expert on this. And there's always new ways of doing things or seeing things. There's always new innovations. I can think of so many stories that I enjoy watching where somebody completely innovated something new that somebody said was previously impossible or not possible or things like that. I'm fascinated by things like that and the ways that people look at challenges and look for solutions and things like that. I think that where does that come from in a person? And it comes from, I'm going to sidestep just for a second. Gosh, I have spiritual ADD. I always do this, don't I? At any rate, we have outer senses. And our outer senses are, it's cold, you need to wear a jacket today, or put on a hat. You're hungry, it's time to go and make dinner. You're thirsty, grab a glass of water. There's a tiger, run. All of those outer senses are meant to keep you safe. Thank goodness for our outer senses that keep us safe in the world, and especially support our survival skills in particular. On a deeper level, we have inner senses. And the inner senses are a bit more subtle. And so if you were to take your hand and touch near a flame, your immediate instinct would be to pull back because it's hot. That's going to burn. Ouch. Our inner senses aren't maybe quite that strong. They're a little bit more subtle than that. And I think that's maybe why sometimes we feel challenged by them or question them, because you're not going to question a flame and think, oh, I'll just hold my hand to that and just allow the skin to melt and burn. Your outer instincts are going to save you and have you pull back. Well, your inner instincts give you sovereignty. They give you choice. They give you freedom. And so you may have an inner instinct of, oh, this isn't really right, but I should be the good girl, or I should be the good person, or I should take the higher road, so I will do this anyway. And so there's a wavering or a doubt with those inner instincts. And I think that's where sometimes then we can miss something that we knew intuitively, a wisdom within us that we hold, that we can sometimes miss because we do have choice and we do have freedom. And I don't think our angels or spirit guides are sitting and watching us thinking, oh Lord, there she goes again. No, I think they're just like, oh my gosh, it's okay. Yeah, take your time in learning this. That's good. They don't mind, but I think that the point is that we do learn over the course of our life, that we do learn to tune into that more and more. I believe that if our children were taught this in schools, that we would not have as much challenge with addictions and bullying or depression or despondency, because we would make people feel more seen by honoring their own inner wisdom and their own intuition, and teaching people to tap into that, I think, is probably one of the most empowering things we could do for our society and our culture.
Oh my goodness, because how many of us were that imaginative child who were just told that, no, it's just in your head, you're just making things up. But that it's connected to your intuition. It is your intuition.
It is. And as a child in particular, you are so close to it, right? Like it's so inherent within your being. And I believe that as we walk through our life, it's veils are put over that in some way. So if you think of a sheer white veil covering your face, you can still see, but maybe not as crisp. And then another veil comes, and then another veil comes. And the process of our life is that unveiling in so many ways of taking those veils off and seeing more clearly, coming back to those places of yourself and trusting those parts of yourself that actually do know what they're doing and do know what is best for you and do know what you need. And it may not look like what society says it should look like, or what said group of people say it should look like. And that's okay. I think we're meant to bring variety. We're meant to bring, it's a tapestry is how I'm shown it all the time. And so if you think of a beautiful tapestry as full of all different colors and shapes and all different kinds of things, it is meant to be that, and you are a part of it. You are being you in your place in the world, wherever you are, and whatever you do are contributing to that tapestry. So make it beautiful. I think that's one thing that we're all searching for, was meaning in life and a deeper understanding and wanting to know that we matter, that we somehow make a difference, or that we somehow count to somebody. And I think for me in my life, those times where I felt lost, or I guess off track is maybe another way to say it, but in those times that I felt those ways, that's really disconnection from your source energy or your higher self energy. And I think we all have those in moments. And I think, is it possible that I'll still have them moving forward? Of course. Absolutely. We're human too, right? This is a human journey. And I'm not about to say that I'm doing it perfectly. There's no chance of that. But we're all doing the very best that we can. And that's the most important part to remember. And as you keep coming back to center over and over, you're honoring those parts of yourself and remembering those parts of yourself. And that's really magical.
It is.
Yeah.
Michelle, thank you so much for just being here and sharing your energy and the angel messages and just your life wisdom with us. I know it's going to resonate with a lot of people. So can you let people know where they can get in touch with you, what your website is, and yeah, the best way to get in touch if they would like to?
I love connecting on Instagram at Michelle Morrison Medium, and you can find everything about me on my website at www.thebalancedsoul.com. And I really look forward to connecting more with you. And my wish for you, for each and every one of you moving forward, is that you know how much you matter, and that you know how deeply you are cherished. And you have no idea how deeply you are cherished by source, by your angels and spirit guides, by non-physical. And that wherever you are on your pathway is perfect, and that you are not broken, that there is nothing wrong with you, and that you don't have to do all of this self-improvement or anything like that. Just come home to your heart, to your soul, and be with yourself, and be curious about yourself and what you like, and what makes your heart sing, and what makes your face smile, and what makes you feel warm inside, and dwell there and do more of whatever that is in as many ways as possible, because it's a pretty cool journey.
Thank you so much, Michelle. I really appreciate this.
Thank you so much for having me, Vanessa. I really appreciate and love the time of connection with you.